Alright, what is going on YouTube? Max versus running, another set from the second round of the Hidden Cup for qualifiers, the round of 32s. Max coming up against a massive underdog, I would say running, but not a player that has an impossible chance over here. In fact, running has been improving over time in the last half a year or so, and he has become a fairly consistent player, has a decent performance in the German championship, for example, whereas Max has sort of been inconsistent recently. It seems like either the competition surpassed him and he's no longer able to be that competitive against the highest level of players, or he took a step back himself. There is really no way of telling, but I think Max was a finalist, maybe, or semi-finalist in Hidden Cup 2. So compared to that, his recent sort of struggles make me feel like he is not as strong as he used to be. That doesn't mean that he's a bad player. He's definitely top 16 still. It's a matter of question if he's actually within the top 10 right now, though. However, with the strong showing on Hidden Cup 4, he could definitely get back to the top 10. Anyways, we're gonna have Mayans and Britons, the global bans. The first civilization pick for each player was sniped by the opponent. Max loses the Lithuanians this way, and running lost Vikings. So available civilizations for Max will be Japanese, Mongols, Aztecs, Chinese, Saracens, Huns. Other side will be using Italians, Malians, Malay, Khmer, Persians, and Teutons for running. And the home maps will be Max picking Islands and Bay and Bands Gold Rush, running picking Hideout and Cross and Bands Slopes. With that, we can jump into the first game, I believe, and we're going to have running playing in his, I think, somewhat usual purple color, although I've seen running playing, I think yellow is something that he also loves to play. But running is going to play a somewhat unconventional Khmer selection pick here in purple, and many probably would have thought that for Khmer, Hideout is a more suitable map, so this is sort of a little bit of a surprise here. As Max is coming forward really early on, but he's unable to find the opponent. I wonder if this is for a lame, because the thing is that he came in very, very early on, and he actually finds a villager to kill. Oh my goodness, that's a disaster start for running. I'm not sure if this was the original plan for Max, or he wanted to lame a board, but the reality is that he came forward very, very early on, and that's -1 villager from running, who is an excellent player on closed maps, a little bit weaker on open maps. I haven't seen the German championship myself, so I only saw the results, but he's definitely one of the higher rated and more skilled German players out there. And as I said, he excels in closed maps. This is why it's no surprise that Hideout was the civils or the map pick of his first choice. He's going to wall himself up over here as he has a 1 villager deficit. He doesn't really have an amazing base layout. Especially this gold man is quite bad, but I think the walls that he's making kind of make sense for me. Not really big walls. It's more about the efficiency. Now, the thing is that he's up against Aztecs, which means that we're probably going to see archers in feudal from Max. That means that both of these woodlands could be denied by archers, and this berries could also be a little problematic. Technically, he has safe gold, safe berries, and safe wood available, but we will see over time if this is really going to be safe, because these villagers are pretty close to the edge of the wall, so archers could deny that. Archers could potentially deny the other side as well, so this could be scary for running. He doesn't really have a great map, and it looks like Max understands that his opponent doesn't have a great map, and something that Max doesn't do very, very frequently comes forward with a Man-at-Arms Towers play over here. In fact, this is not just 3 Man-at-Arms, actually this is 3 Man-at-Arms. I thought with Aztecs he could actually get maybe 1 more on the field, but it looks like it's gonna be Man-at-Arms Towers. We'll see if running is able to spot this one. Running is going for a 22 pop. I think it's gonna be an archer build here. This would be a 23 pop timing, by the way, because he lost the villager. So that's quite late for an archer build over here. Or, like, the alternative is that the plan was to go for a 23+0 fast castle, which would be very, very unconventional. I would understand, because, as I said, running is the massive underdog of this one. So it would not be unprecedented to see him trying to trick his strategy, and 23 plus 0 fast castle could be very, very dangerous if your opponent doesn't react to that one, but you need a crystal clear build for that, and you can't afford to lose even a single vulture. In fact, even with a clear build, 23 plus 0 is pretty hard to pull off, and Max's reaction so far has been pretty good. Forward range coming in here. This is not going to be a fast castle, that's for sure, for running, and he already lost one of his wood lines, and I have mentioned that protecting those wood lines is going to be a massive, massive issue for running, and I think that running is also very, very lucky that his gold mine wasn't discovered, because if Max knew about that gold mine, he probably would have placed his tower over here instead to try and harass that gold mine as well. Anyways, counter tower coming in here from running, the only counter tower that he's gonna be able to afford because his stone is sort of inaccessible at the back, as now Max is gonna have to withdraw. Max is adding vultures on stone, so this is going to be a commit to this tower rush. He won't just fall back and say, okay, whatever, I have a tower up on you and that's it. Obviously, losing all the barriers really hurts for running, added to the fact that he already lost one vulture, and this is definitely not a great start. And now he's trying to push this lumber camp. This actually is a good idea from Max. The reason why is because if running loses this lumber camp, he won't be able to, or he won't be able to come back to this wood line even after cleaning this one up potentially. So killing that lumber camp would actually cause damage to running because, as I said, even if he wants to come back here, he's gonna have to replace that lumber camp, so it makes quite a lot of sense. Same thing with the mill. Obviously, now that the skirmishers are out, it's a little bit harder, but still, I feel like the problem that running is facing right now is that his eco has been absolutely crippled, so no eco upgrades. He's just bringing in some food from the hunt. That's actually a nice move from him, but he's gonna have a slow transition to farming eco, whereas I feel like Max's transitions will be a lot cleaner, although Max isn't playing perfect either here, I believe. Like, having two more vultures queued up instead of squeezing in double bid axe, I think here is sort of a bit of a misplay, because he could actually afford adding more vultures even after, so there is nothing that justifies stacking up a lot of vultures inside that TC and not getting double bid axe. It's just a small thing, but I feel like he could have done this a little bit cleaner. There's another tower coming up, and as I said, destroying the mill can be helpful, destroying the lumber camp can be very, very helpful, especially because you're destroying this mill before running would get the horse color upgrade, and the same could be told about that potential lumber camp if that goes down, although there's another lumber camp, but still, killing the mill means that running is gonna have to replace the mill to be able to afford the upgrades. And that's actually pretty important over here. So yeah, Khmer can farm anywhere, but you still need the mill to get the upgrades for your farms. Still, I feel like, as I said, Max could be even more so ahead if he focused a little bit more on his eco upgrades. You see that there is some idle vultures back at home, so he's committing to this push, but behind this one, it's not a crystal clear macro for him, as he loses two archers. In the process, Ego's trying to scare away the skirmishers. His opponent is almost exclusively skirmishers, as there's going to be a counter tower coming in here for running, who is safe on his stone right now, and Max is going to have to bail out on that tower. I feel like this tower push will probably soon stall out from Max, and we might soon see him just going back home and saying, okay, whatever, I will just try to ride my advantage from here. But this is why I said that I feel like missing these upgrades actually hurts really badly for him, and the only way I would justify that is if you're trying to beat your opponent to castle age here. Because you might say, if you're Max, that, okay, instead of playing for an eco advantage, what I'm gonna do is, as long as I have my opponent pinned inside his base, I will try to progress towards castle age, drop a forward siege workshop, and slowly start transitioning to Ego Warriors, because that's something that he's gonna need as well. Double bid axe coming in here for running. He's gonna spend quite a lot of time in Feudal Age over here, whereas for Max, still no eco upgrades, and now I'm starting to see, as there's a second, no, that's not a second Brax, that's a blacksmith, as he's slowly voling himself up. So, the thing is that the more I'm looking at Max, the more I'm feeling that he just wants to get into Castle Age over here. It's almost a pure skirmisher army here. In fact, that's a pure skirmisher army, which means that Men-at-Arms and the Eagles will be very, very devastating over here. That's a very, very nice fight for Max. Intercepts that army. And those skirms that don't even have... Actually, they do have fletching. They just finished. And I think after this army got intercepted, now Max is gonna see the blood in the water. He actually was very, very wise bowling in that tower, something I really value in his gameplay, and that's a very nice tower as well. It will deny a lot of farming space, and it's also going to deny this primary gold. So if this tower goes up, running could be in serious trouble, and right now he only has a couple of skirmishers to defend against this one, which is something that Max himself can match with his own skirms. Oh, there's a couple of archers counterattacking from running, something that I didn't notice, and that is actually going to be annoying for Max, but he has 2 Eagles here to clean this one up, as long he's trying to wall this one off before the archers will break in. In the meanwhile, we have a big push coming in here as well, and the tower goes up, but Max is probably focused on cleaning up the archers inside his base, so he's not garrisoning in time. He could have probably killed at least 1 villager or so had he garrisoned earlier, but as I said, he was too busy saving his villagers. That being said, he didn't lose a single village so far, and he has been hitting Running's eco pretty hard. Running is still just 5 villagers on farms. Luckily for Khmer, you can actually reposition your farms very easily, but you see that Running had to delete 3 farms over here to make sure that the villagers don't get killed working on them. A second tower coming up to reinforce here for Max. As I said, his food eco is a little more developed. So even though he is still lacking horsepower, which is something I do not like for this many farms, and his double bit axe was also a little bit late to my taste, I feel like he's progressing towards Castle Age quite fast here, and we could soon see him going up. And that would potentially mean that we are going to see a siege workshop either here or here. I would say this is a more likely spot now for a siege workshop, as he will probably try to push another tower up over here. This would be the ideal spot for him to deny that stone outside of the range of this tower and within the range of that stone. But that's not going to go up. He doesn't really have the numbers advantage, at least in this specific fight. So he's looking for other straggler units, I assume, with his archers and eagles, but he's not finding anything. So for now, this push is done, and that means that Max is going to buy himself up to Castle Age over here. Running, surprisingly, is not that much far behind. So, considering the damage that he took, I'm somewhat impressed that he's this decent with the resources, and he's going to click up to Castle Age basically the same time as Max does. Now, he also had a TC idle time, in fact, a lot of TC, and it's 2 minutes advantage for Max over there, which is like pure 5 villagers lead, and if you add the 1 villager killed, you get basically that 6 villager lead that is between the 2 players. So yeah, the Castle Age times are similar, but the villager count is not something I'm impressed about for Running. That being said, the Khmer economy is pretty beastly when it comes to the farming, so even with a slightly lower eco, if you can get a couple of knights out here, or potentially even get a couple of crossbows, although you will have to go for knights because your opponent is already transitioning to eagles. But if you get a couple of knights out and potentially intercept these villagers, you could pretty much even the game out. So if these 4 villagers die here, then Running is going to be pretty much in this game here. Anyways, it is still a single barracks for Max, but he keeps adding eagles, which means that what probably is going to happen is a forward monastery over here. So it's going to be eagle and monk against the knights, and that is going to be something that's really tough for Running to fight against. And I would dare to say that he might actually start making scouts here for light cav, because with Khmer farming eco you could really justify light cav here, and that would help dealing with the initial monks as well. Anyways, it seems like eagles will be garrisoned inside the tower for the sole purpose of healing them, and eco upgrade wise both players are in the same position, and that's a triple stable play from Running. So, triple stable here, and only a single barracks from Max, which means that he wants to turn this into a monk and siege push. Okay, there is a second barracks. So, here comes the Eagle Warrior upgrade. I would have preferred if the Eagle Warrior upgrade comes in on this barracks, and you make your Eagles here, because that way the Eagles don't have to walk all the way through the map. That's just a minor thing, but would have been a little bit more efficient. There's the workshop and the monastery, and if you are Running, I think you kind of have to go for some of your own monks as well. Otherwise, your only hope is that you overwhelm your opponent with knights. Now, that could definitely be a possibility, because Max's army isn't really convincing me right now. It's 9 eagles with, well, it's +1, +2, so that's decent. But Running, he has time to mass knights over here, and it's still easier to mass these Khmer knights than those eagles, especially considering that there's only 2 barracks for Max, so he doesn't really have an awful lot of an army. So that's gonna be interesting to monitor. Soon Max will have to, or Running has to start thinking about the fact that he's running out of gold at the back of his base. Get it? Running out of gold. Okay, so He's gonna have to soon go to this gold mine or recover this one. Here come the knights, and there isn't really a lot of monks on the field. In fact, there's just one monk, so you could definitely dive this one if you are running. You lose one knight to conversion, but might as well try to finish off the eagles and then dive beneath the towers. Monk is gonna go down as well. The two towers are actually pretty annoying over here because both of these will actually do a lot of damage to your knights. Running commits this fight completely. Here comes the battering ram. Mangonel pops out, lands a huge shot, and we'll see if there is enough meat in here for Running, who is, for whatever reason, that knight doesn't have bloodlines. I'm not sure if that's a capturage bug or so. You should retain bloodlines when you convert the knights. I think that's a capturage bug. I'll have to ask the devs about that. But as far as I know, you should be able to retain bloodlines. In fact, you retain all the upgrades that your opponent had on your knights. So you see that there is no more converted knights. But if you convert a knight with +1, +2, okay, there it is. So if you retain the +1 attack upgrade... honestly? Yeah, see? It's getting overhealed. It actually goes up to 120. This is a capture age bug. What you see here is that the upgrades for a converted knight are showing... Like, the upgrades that Max has are showing for this knight. So he only has +1 attack, and he has no cavalry defense upgrades because that's unavailable for Aztecs. And he only has 100 HP maximum because he also doesn't have bloodlines available for his Civ. In reality, these knights are actually +1/+1 with bloodlines. So this is actually capture age bug, and I will relay this one to the developers as Running is preparing another horde of units. It is worth noting that behind this one, Max is now transitioning to much stronger eco, so he's going to be on 2 TCs, whereas his opponent is only playing on 1. So the clock is ticking really badly for Running over here because he is now behind by 15 villages, and that starts to be a very insurmountable lead, especially considering that his opponent also has Boso working for him. And the more he waits, the more monks there will be on the field. So we already have 2. There's a higher probability of Max being able to grab Sanctity for those monks. So with that, it is going to be more and more difficult for you to push this out. There is no siege coming in for Running. He's just waiting for the knights. He's waiting for one big push, as that might just come in. The terrain isn't really helping Running here. It's very closed passages, a lot of, tiles of gold, buildings to bump into, so it's really hard to get a good surround on the monks. I think there was at least 2 conversions. I see 2 more knights for Max over here. This is, however, something that Running seems to be able to clean up, so the knights are really starting to show why you're using them in this situation. And now the real question is if you're actually diving on that army. I think that's actually the right idea. Just try to clean that army up. Pikeman switch coming in here from Max. And this is the moment where Running should bring in either a ram or a mangonel. I think a ram here actually makes more sense because it deals with the buildings a lot faster. Usually I'm more of a mangonel fan, but in this situation the ram actually makes more sense. As there is going to be another monk popping out. That's a nice position for that monk to pop out. It might... Oh, that monk is actually surrounded by the forest. That's actually very nice. Look at that. The tree is blocking the knights from activating it. Now the monk cannot move, but it actually gets a guaranteed conversion because the knights can't kill it. So this monk is actually trapped in here, but that means that it is impossible for knights to deal with him. Which means that the only way you kill that monk is if you actually kill this monastery. That's very annoying for Running over there. I wonder if that was intentional from Max, or that was just a very lucky situation for him. Sanctity on the way, and so another monk pops out. That is gonna get killed really fast, and the first tower goes down. Running actually wants a defensive castle over here for himself. Monk is almost ready to get another conversion in, as now pikemen are out. So I think the main problem that Running will be facing is that he doesn't really have the eco to make a tech switch. I think now he sees it. He sees it that this ram, I think, is gonna go down because there's a knight bashing it down. He sees that there is pikemen, and he probably understands that there is no way that he's gonna tech switch into anything that deals with pikemen anytime soon. Indeed, Max did enough damage with this one. The TC idle time that he forced was pretty considerable, even though at the end of the day, Max also had comparable TC idle time, but still, I feel like the real damage was caused, first of all, that early villager kill was very important, and then in feudal. The fact that Running had to idle his TC for 4 minutes in feudal and he fell behind by 6 villagers is something that was a little bit too hard for him to come back from. Anyways, this was a rather clean game from Max as we take a look at and his civilizations available. So Max loses Aztecs for this map, and the Khmer will be gone for running. And now we're going to the first home map of running, which is either Hideout or Cross. I would say I think it's more likely we're going to see Hideout in this case, and I'm absolutely right about that. So into Hideout we shall go. Welcome to the second game of the series. We're going to have the Saracens here for Max in blue and Teutons for running in purple. So as I said at the beginning of the series, running is actually a pretty good player when it comes to fighting on closed maps. So that's definitely something that is worth monitoring. If he's got a shot against Max, it is on this map. So this should definitely be a map where running has his best chance at. If Arena was available, he would probably play Arena against his opponent. Anyways, what's gonna happen is that we will have a Saracen pick against it. It's somewhat unconventional. We haven't seen a lot of Saracens being played on this map. However, there's a lot to love about Saracens, especially early to mid-game. So, a Saracen market usage fast castle could be pretty devastating, but Saracens can also go for a nice archer push in feudal. And even though their building attack bonus was actually nerfed, as running gives up on trying to push the deer through the gate and just tries to push it through a hole that he just made, but apparently he's struggling a little bit pushing in the deer. It's a fast castle from running over here, dropping the farms already, whereas his opponent is not making any farms, which doesn't mean that it's not a fast castle. This could still be a very, very greedy FC from the Saracen player, although it seems like we're going to see towers once again from Max. So Max, as I said, is the clear candidate to win this series, and I assume that he's also thinking about saving up some strategies. So as I said, many aggressive forward towers is a little bit un-Max-like. I just made up the word, and that sounds awful, but really, Max doesn't really play with a lot of forward towers. In late game, he loves his guard towers, that's for sure, but you see that this is actually very, very aggressive forward. In fact, he already consumed 2 of his boars, pushed in his deers, whereas it seems like running is just bringing in his second boar. Probably he prioritized the deer first. But the thing is that pulse side walls were also nerfed, so as long as running is not in feudal age, his walls are only 150 HP, which means that they go down really fast, and Saracen archers just chew through them. This could be very, very dangerous for running over here, because I don't think that he's expecting this tower rush. Now, in late game, I would say that Saracens have their options against Teutons, so both civs are capable of beating the other in terms of unit composition. Like, camels can be pretty devastating against the Teuton cavalry, but Teutons have very good halberdiers. Against that, Saracens have hand cannons, Saracens have arbalest, but obviously Teutons have onagers, but Saracens have bombard cannons, so I feel like there's always an answer from either of these civilizations to what the opponent is doing, but it seems like Max wants to decide this one early on, and running went for a very, very greedy fast castle here. This is a no-loom fast castle, and he definitely... Well, it's not really a greedy one, because most of these naked fast castle builds involve no-loom, but in this situation, it actually went really badly for him, because without loom, those villagers die very easily, and that market is already gonna get denied. And the thing is that you can't delete it. If you delete it as running, well, he's gonna have to eventually. So if you delete it as running, you just let your opponent in. If you don't delete it, you're just gonna lose the resources and the building itself. And now running is off from gold. He's gonna have to move to the other gold mine. But I think that the funny thing is that his food count is actually looking pretty decent. So if he actually gets up market, he's actually going to be able to balance out his eco. It's actually a bold move, I'm just noticing, from Max to tower rush a Teuton player. Teutons could be very, very nice defending against the towers, and I feel like now the plan, this is actually a nice wall behind, even though you need a house over here, otherwise the archers might still run past. So the idea for running now is that he's buying himself up castle age and he's heavy on stone, which makes me wonder if we're going to see an early defensive castle over here. A tower comes in here from running to prevent the archers from getting through. Nice quick gate over there as well. So running for now is holding. The tower goes up on his gold mine, as his food count is still looking good enough to buy himself up. Max, however, isn't really going up right now. In fact, he's mining stone as well. One of the reasons why that's alright with Saracens is because you can still use your market to balance out your eco. In fact, with many Saracen build orders, you would just use your stone to buy resources. So with that, I think that this is perfectly fine still for Max. And I don't think that he's gonna be that much behind in castlage time. He will be definitely lagging behind a tiny bit, especially considering that it's only 50 gold now in the bank for running. I'm not sure what happened. He sold some food, but he also had to make... Where did all that gold go? He just sold a bunch of resources for gold. What happened here? Oh my goodness, disaster. And this tower is slowly going down. Another tower comes in here, as those archers will be pushed away eventually. But still, this tower is gonna go down, and look at this. Max is actually diving in, trying to pick off the villagers that are repairing. I think that tower isn't going to stay up because running is out of stone. He doesn't have villagers on food. And as I said, he looked close to Castle Age. He no longer does. He's gonna be able to repair this tower, but once again, it's the same thing that we've seen in the previous game. His eco just got damaged so hard by this one as he's moving out to this gold mine. But the archers could already be looking for those. Not sure if Max knows about it. Max knows about it. Look at Max's scouting. That's a very good scouting from Max. Now, running could also be on other gold mines. Not necessarily this one, but there could be a corner gold mine, for example. So the fact that there is absolutely no guarantees that running is over here, as running is going up to castle stage. As I said, Max is going to be able to buy himself up soon, though, as those are mostly villagers inside that tower, which is not ideal for Max. It would be much better for him if those were archers, but he finds the other gold mine as well. And now I think running can only think about a defensive castle here for him, or to rush that tower down, but that isn't really going to work out well, because the thing is that you already have an archer here that could do a lot of damage. And, oh, the trap attempt. That's a nice trap attempt there from running, but, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Villagers jump in there. And there could be a villager killed. Indeed, one goes down. It's a little bit sloppy from Max that he's chasing that villager, though, even though he almost kills it. But I think he's just gonna lose one or two of his villagers. He isn't trapped in here, and he's keeping this hole open. That's very smart from Max. He knows that that is a house wall attempt, so he's making sure that there is two archers camping that hole to prevent that revolt. Another tower comes in here from running, trying to push this one away as much as possible. But in the meanwhile, the archers get through the walls on the south. And in terms of castle age timing, as I said, Max is not that much behind. And when he's got the Saracen crossbows, he even has the 4 villagers, so this is going to turn into a siege push. It kind of has to be a crossbow siege push, I would say, because monks won't really do much for you against Teutons. Running will be able to take that tower down. There is a stable, so we'll actually see a couple of knights being added here. And let's see if running actually pays attention to these archers, because those might try running past the TC here. So, workshop coming in here from running, as the stable is almost finished. Castle Age almost in as well for the max. Like, running is not dead yet, to be honest. Like, he has managed to stabilize. Obviously, his eco isn't looking perfect, but the thing is that Teuton's cheaper farming helps a lot when it comes to being able to recover from such a damage. And really, the fact that he's playing Teutons helps him an awful lot here, because he was able to win this Tower Wars, and in retrospective, it is indeed somewhat questionable to see Max trying to tower rush Teutons. You don't really tower rush Teutons, and as you see, at the end of the day, running actually has more less TC idle time than his opponent does. Obviously, the villager idle time still is crazy, but the long-term eco of Teutons will be like years ahead of the Saracens. As here comes the first knight, monks will be the response, and running should be able to clean that one up. This is actually going to be better and better for running. He took a beating here at the beginning, but he weathered the storm, and at the end of the day, as I said, his eco is going to be much better than the opponent's eco. He's missing horse color, which is not ideal, as Max is now expanding his base to 2 TCs. Running isn't really able to afford that right now. I like this outpost from Max. He wants to be aware if his opponent is moving out here, as we will have a crossbowman upgrade. He might even find a villager pick here. Running reacts, and he runs back. Mangonel comes out, and that villager should survive. Anyways, we are gonna have no siege workshop on the front from Max, it seems like. So he might actually just settle on a boom now. It's going to be tough to outboom Saracens, or outboom Teutons with Saracens. As here comes a knight. That's a bad decision from Max. Yeah, that push was destined to fall. And also the crossbows get cleaned up on the other side, villager gets cleaned up. And this is what I was referring to when I said that Max isn't really playing as good as he used to play in Hidden Cup 2, for example, other previous tournaments. I'm really not sure if it's just the competition being stronger now, or he took a step back. I think it's a combination of both. I feel Max being less convincing than he used to be. That doesn't mean that he is losing this game, it is just meaning that you see that there is some sloppy moments for him. Anyways, it's still 2 TCs against 1, and that means that Max could pull ahead in vulture count in the next couple of moments. There is a siege workshop coming in, but he loses another tower over here, and I just don't know which direction this game is going for Max. That's what I'm curious about. So, Mangonel pops out, running, gets a good shot out, and it's gonna be an 1-for-1 at the end of the day. So this was alright for Max, although far from ideal. Now, as I said, what he wants to accomplish is just keep on this push and force running to defend while he's doing a 2 TC boom behind, gets University for what is gonna be a fast ballistics play, I assume. Although he only has 5 crossbows. Oh, it's guard tower. It's guard tower. Yeah, or like most of the people here would be making a University to get the ballistics. But I did mention in the first game that it's somewhat unconventional to see Max playing this much or this aggressive towers play, but guard towers is a very, very strong clue. It's actually Max. One of the reasons I believe why in Hidden Cup 3 many people were trigged and confused the Doubt and Taro with Vilas and Max is because I think one of the... Well, it was still Team Secret back then, but now Gamer Legion players actually played a lot of guard towers. And that was so reminiscent of Max's style that eventually a lot of people thought it's Max. So yeah, very, very frequent guard tower play is very, 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 very Max-like. Anyways, another town center is apparently planned over here by Running, who is still missing Horse Color. Is sort of a mistake at this stage of the game, and there was also 1-for-0 trade a couple of moments ago on this side, which means that now Max had a temporary advantage over here, although he loses the first Mangonel. Now, where Guard Tower is good here? The reason why Guard Towers could be good is because Guard Towers kill Mangonels so easily, and you can actually make a Mangonel plus Guard Tower push. Because your opponent doesn't really have a lot of army, your opponent is defending with Monks and Mangonels. But both Mangonels and Monks get pricked off by Guard Towers pretty easily, especially if those Guard Towers do have Botkin. So, right now, the first TC from Running is being mangoed down. It is going to be 3 TCs for Running versus 2 of his opponent. Right now it's 2-2, as Max is making his 3rd TC happen right now. And he is already having a 4 Vultures lead, plus Horse Color is going to help as well. Redemption on the way for Running over here to try and convert those Mangonels. As I don't think that he has Sanctity just yet. I think if you get Redemption, you gotta get Sanctity as well. Otherwise, you'll get one-shot by Mangonels. I think that's, like, those are 2 upgrades that only work together. Otherwise, as I said, the Monk is gonna get killed very, very easily by a Mangonel. Conversion is there, and that was not... Well, it wasn't a conversion, it was a deletion from Max, but still, at the end of the day, you trade 1 Mangonel and 1 Monk to 2 Mangonels, especially in a situation where your TC is getting mangoed down. You're absolutely fine with this one, and keep in mind that Running is actually close to dropping a castle, and if you drop a castle here, that Mangonel push is going to stall out. Now, there is something coming up here from Max. I would be massively surprised if this wasn't a Guard Towers play. Indeed, here come the Guard Towers from him. Running is also collecting relics, and we are gonna have... As I said, the defensive castle soon from Running. The question is, where is he gonna drop it? It has to be here, I think. This is a quite important part of his base. It's the gold. And there is already quite heavy push coming from this side, so you kind of want to stop that one. Apparently it's a forward stable right now for Max, but eventually we're going to see another siege workshop maybe from this side. Running is now sitting on 700 stone, as he is 7 Voyagers behind compared to his opponent. Max also going for relics over here. 3 TCs for both players, but Running is under a little bit more of a pressure. There is Sanctity on the way for those Monks. Villagers standing idle in the middle of nowhere, getting absolutely destroyed by the Mangonels. But really, what is the plan here for Running? He's got 770 stone in the bank. Here comes the Guard Tower from Max, as you would expect. And the TC is in flames, so... Yeah, I think that Running is gonna have to make up his mind on that castle soon, and it has to be a castle, because otherwise he wouldn't pile up 700 stone. Alternative would be to maybe try to buy himself up to Imperial, but why would he do that? Like, he's got no army, he would not get nothing from Imperial. Anyways, that's actually a nice one from running. Max even deleted the mangonel to try and increase the damage output, but that didn't work out and ends up losing a mangonel without even hitting running's one. This push is dead here for Max. So the question is what's gonna happen on the other side, and that is a castle, something that running has no idea about. So that's gonna be interesting to monitor. That running just made a castle on the other side. Now running is about to go into Imperial here if you take a look at the resources. So he could actually start thinking about, okay, even if there is a castle here, especially if running can get a castle up himself somewhere around over here, he could actually start trapping this one down. His opponent isn't gonna be beaten by that much to the Imperial, so we'll see what type of armies we are going to see though. Because so far we haven't really seen any army on the field, and I feel like Max will eventually try playing Arbalest Bombard Cannon here, hoping that his opponent doesn't have a lot of cavalry, and that makes sense. In the meanwhile, running seems like he wants to go for what could be Hob and Onager, what could be Hob and Kept Ram, but since Teutons do not have Siege Ram, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that. The castle goes up, running is gonna have to panic a little bit, and he will probably have to run from these farms over here. Less than ideal, indeed he deletes the farms immediately to prevent the villagers from getting killed working on them. In the meanwhile, Max is laming the golds on the other side, as running finds that villager. I think if he targets the villager, that's less ideal than actually targeting the crossbow here, because you could convert the crossbow and you could actually kill the villager with it, and Max just deletes the villager before it could get converted. Anyways, it seems like we're going to see Halberdier play here from running. As I said, the question is Halberdier and what? And especially against the Arbalests, it kind of has to be Halberdier Onager, but even then, Arbalest Bombard Cannon should be better than Halberdier Onager. So running is not on stone, which means that he won't be able to counter castle this one, and that is going to be a scary push on the other side in that case, especially if that PC goes down. He's getting the pikeman upgrade right now, but I feel like Max is having a little bit more progression getting into army. So the thing is that these Saracen Arbs alone will be pretty devastating, and it is much easier for Max to get like 20 Arbs out here, rather than get to the ideal composition of running over here, which would be Onagers and Halberdiers. Especially the Onager part is going to be a little bit troublesome, because it's going to take quite a lot of time and resources to get to Onager. And without the Onager upgrade, those Mangonels are useless against Arbs, and your Halberdiers will be absolutely useless against this one. Anyways, running is making a trap immediately. I think he kind of has to take that trap to this side and trap this castle down, at least attempt to do so, as I believe Halberdier will soon start coming in here for him as well. But I think that he needs Onagers to support that. Now, given the fact that he has Onager, he could also think about something like an Onager cut and try to hit Max's eco. And it seems like we're going to see some champions on the field from Max, so he isn't confident in his Arbalest, and he's taking the supplies. Interesting decision. I'm unsure if he needs it, honestly. I think a fast chemistry Arbalest Bombard Cannon is something that is perfectly fine in this situation. And it seems like running is going to try and play this one with block printing and redemption monks. Remember, he already got redemption and sanctity. So I guess the idea now is that he wants to convert the bombard cannons with monks. So it's gonna be Onager, Halberdier, and block printing monks. But as I said, it takes so much time to tech into all of these. Onager is an expensive upgrade, and it takes a lot of time to get to. Halberdier isn't cheap either, whereas his opponent can, well, he already had crossbow upgrades, so all he needs to do is just get Arbalest, Chemistry, and Bracer. All of these take about a minute and a half. Thumb Ring coming in already, and even without bombard cannons, those Arbs are actually pretty devastating against buildings. As running starts to lose voters, he's behind by 25, and it seems like running actually focused on cleaning up these towers over here, but those aren't really hurting him immediately, whereas this castle is actually in a very, very awful position for him. And oh, that's a lot of voters dead from running. I'm not sure if he just didn't notice it or what happened, but by the time he noticed it, it was too late. And as I said, TheMax is coming in with a bombard cannon. He's already taking it to champion, although that's gonna be pretty useless against Hob and Onager. And Arbs will try to push in here. I think they can just settle with indeed killing villagers on the farms. It is a 40 villagers now in the favor of Max, as he has a firm control over this game. Here comes the Onager push though. The thing is that this is still just at best a defense from running, so he's not getting anywhere. Even if he cleans this army up, he's just sitting within his own base. He is going to have to stop that trap from trapping down this house. Because if this house gets trapped down, then the Arbalest could walk into the woodline, the only woodline that Running realistically has access to, as Max just bought himself another castle, drops it on this hill to secure that gold mine, and like overall this part of the map with the additional gold and stone. So onagers are now out, but as I said, Saracens have bombard cannons to do this. Now the thing is that given time, Running will be able to start being scary here. So Sanctity, Redemption, and block printing monks, onagers with halberdiers is a very, very lethal combination, and that's something that you have to consider. But Max was attacking into light cav, and I feel like Running just looked at his eco and said, look, this is probably over. So he's moving out to this gold mine, but that's gonna be inefficient. Not sure what was the final moment that actually made him decide to tap out, but maybe he just looked at the score and said it's over. And honestly, it was probably over. Like, the composition for Running could theoretically work, but he's not in a position to mass a huge army, and his map control is very, very limited. His opponent is sitting on 4 relics, which is also something that's worth monitoring, but look at all the neutral resources Max is controlling, whereas Running only has 1 gold mine to work with, and it's half stone walled off. So, Max takes a very convincing second win over here. It wasn't perfect. There were some moments, especially, I'm not a big fan of the Teuton Tower Rush, again, or a Tower Rush against Teutons to be precise, but it worked out for Max. As I said, I think he's also saving up a bit of a strategies for potentially future rounds or the main event, because he definitely wants to play in the main event. Cross is going to be the pick for Running for his second home map, so we'll actually get there in a moment. And with that, we will jump into game number 3 over here, and we will have a Malians versus Japanese setup over here, I believe. So here it is. Malians for Running in purple, and left side is going to be Max playing as Japanese in blue. Both of these civilizations are fairly viable on this map. I feel like Malians are a little bit more versatile, which is something I really like about them. The cheaper buildings and like the fairly broad tech tree actually helps them a lot. So you can play men-at-arms, you can play scouts, you can play archers, you can play basically anything in terms of unit composition until like late Imperial. The only thing that they are missing, I think, is bracers. So their skirms aren't great and their arbs aren't great, but they do have champ scars available to them. They do have bombard cannons, so really that's a very broad tech tree. Very good late game cavalry as well. Whereas Japanese are a little bit more one-dimensional, but they are really a brute powerhouse. Just strong fishing ships, fast-working fishing ships, a very, very strong men-at-arms opening that could be very lethal. Running actually walls around his Voyager to make sure it's not gonna get sniped. And it seems like, as we're gonna have a feudal age coming in here for Running, Max is actually going to play what seems to be a men-at-arms opening that's fairly standard for Japanese on this map, as Running will have to wall in his gold. Now the thing is that this gold mine is absolutely awful for Running, and Running, honestly, this is Running's best gold mine. This would be an easy wall off here. This is actually a tough wall off on the north, so Running is going to have to be careful not to get a Voyager snuck up on him. There is a sneaky Voyager coming from Running to the pond of his opponent. Looking at Max's map, Max's map is also quite bad. This gold mine is quite mispositioned, so it's very hard to actually protect and wall it off, for the reasons why you might see this men-at-arms opening. Something that Running is going to be aware of. Is there a sneaky Voyager? There is no sneaky Voyagers from Max though, so he might actually get his pond pushed. But here's the tricky thing. It's really hard to kill Japanese fishing ships with... oh, look at this. Look at Max. He knows exactly that his opponent is about to reach feudal age, and the timing of this sneaky dock is when you reach feudal age. He knows exactly and goes for an immediate fire galley. I don't think that these sneaky docks are working anymore. Back then, when Cross started to be played more frequently in these tournaments, these sneaky docks still worked out. And that's still a hole. That's still a hole. That's still a hole. Now those are Japanese men-at-arms, but there's still a hole, and if these get to the wood line, that's a disaster. Those are Japanese men-at-arms, so they would just absolutely shred those Voyagers. Oh my goodness, this could be a fast game here, because Running's aggression on the pond of Max is just not gonna be materializing, and he already lost 2 Voyagers. Japanese men-at-arms gets through walls insanely fast, so I'm not sure how long you can actually keep that wall being repaired. So yeah, by the time this Dog goes up, there's already a fire galley out for Max, but even if there wasn't, these fire galleys or these fishing ships are so hard to kill. Running's fishing eco is uncontested right now, and his wood line here is still secure, but he's spending quite a lot of wood repairing this one. Max could actually do more damage with those man-at-arms if he wanted to, but there is a defensive tower from Running. He's got a barracks, but there is absolutely nothing else to support that, and there's already archers coming out. So if there is like 2 archers getting there, these Voyagers will have to escape, and they will eventually get killed. And Running, I don't think that he expected Max to know about this one, but as much as I was saying that Max wasn't playing as good as he used to play, I think that his game sense here really showed. He knew exactly that if you're trying to sneak a dock upon him, then you're gonna do that when you reach Field Age. And he looked at the timing, he looked at the prompt, he said, hey, Running just reached Field Age, that means that the dock is coming up about right now. It's going to be a double dock commitment from Running over here, which is a massive investment, to be honest. We are not really seeing that very frequently, so he really wants to kill Max's fishing eco. The problem is that he's sort of overcommitting to water, because eventually he's gonna get beaten on land in exchange. You see, Archer now coming in, and eventually that Voyager is gonna get killed, even though it's just a single Archer, but that Voyager will eventually get killed, and that will be minus 2 more Voyagers on land. Now that is a 1 Voyager lead right now for Max, and he's also going for 2 docks. I like that he's spreading out his docks a little bit more to make his fishing eco a little bit more efficient. And he should have no trouble defending against this one, whereas his opponent, Running, is going to struggle big time protecting his eco against this. It seems like the Voyagers were able to escape because there's still 2 Voyagers killed only from Max. So, Running is playing with a couple of archers for the time being. He's loading a lot of gold and wood, so he could definitely add more archers. But at the end of the day, it seems like Max is slowly getting pushed back on water. So we might see this one working out for Running. He's gonna have to do some quick walls, and there is no Voyagers to garrison the TC. The TC only acts as a wall if there's actual Voyagers to garrison, and the only reason why Max didn't dive in here is because he realized, hey, there's a tower over there. If the tower wasn't there, the man-at-arms would have just completely run into the wood line and started killing villas. Even if you trade your man-at-arms off here and lose them to Voyagers, that's already satisfactory. Especially because those are Japanese man-at-arms, so they actually kill Voyagers really fast. Also, Max seems like he wants to kill that blacksmith, which makes some sense. Especially if you feel like your opponent hasn't gotten his combat upgrades yet. And also, just the sole purpose of killing the blacksmith and your opponent potentially being in the need to replace that in the future could be something that gives you a nice advantage. It's not like Max can do more with those man-at-arms anyways, so might as well kill the blacksmith. He's also denying the berries, which is important. So in case Running is starting to run out of food here on his home pond, he could be in a bit of a trouble when it comes to food income. It looks like Max's fishing eco is still alive, and that's actually a little bit sloppy from Running. He's probably too busy not dying back at home. And because of that, he didn't notice that Max's fishing eco is still operational. Yeah, he's destroying a dock, sure, but Max still has food income from this one. Max also is expanding towards this pond. He's placing houses across the lake so that he has vision in case his opponent is trying to sneak a dock upon him. Running's pond is still uncontested, and now Max has to bail out on his aggression over here. 2 ponds will be there for both players, as Max will try to contest the northern pond as well. Voyager count still that even for the 2 players, but if you look at the food count, that is much more convincing, partially fueled by the fact that Japanese have faster working fishing ships, so these fishing ships are really paying for their price right now, and I think that there will be at least 1 fire galley kill. The other one is also very weak, so this could be a quick cleanup coming in soon. Archers from Running still trying to hold this one off for the time being, and that could be a beautiful demo from Running. That was an excellent demo. Something that is also, I would say that just a fitting comparison to this one would be that this was a life vest for Running over here. Really, that was a much needed demo. Otherwise, he would have probably lost this pond. Anyways, the demo is in here from Max, sort of inefficient. Only hits 1 fire galley over here. That repair Voyager is half HP, so that has to be careful. Max still 1 Voyager behind, but he's got an archer here, and really, I think that he's just waiting for the opportunity to potentially counterattack his opponent with a couple of archers. He's also making skirms, and he's idling his TC a little bit, so he wants to go up into Castle Age. The repair Voyager from Running goes down over here, and that means that no longer he's able to repair his fire guys, giving an edge to Max in this fight. And at the end of the day, Max is going to be able to retain this pond. He's about to start contesting the northern pond. Max has an uncontested southern pond right now, as Running is trying to get a dock up there, but this will, I think, be spotted by Max. We'll see if he's going to react to this one in time. I think he will. He already sees the Voyager and he pulls it to attack. And nope, he does not. So there's a lot of things to focus on. For example, this aggression inside your base, which is actually very, very nice from Running. And that means that Max isn't noticing this in time. In fact, he is, even though he definitely has vision on this dock, he's just not noticing it. Running also wants to buy himself up to Castle Age over here, as Max is already going up. And that should probably be early knights as well, supported by crossbows. You will probably keep adding archers, but still add knights at the beginning, as Max is voting himself up over here. And as I said, he realized the dock is up, but that was way too late, so now he's gonna have to fight against this one with fire galleys. Men-at-arms coming in here from Max. I love this. He realizes, hey, there is probably a villager on this pond, and I can just catch it with my men-at-arms, and there's already fire galley coming out here for Max. You could even make a case for a simple galley here, because the galley kills fishing ships a lot faster, and it seems like Running is not expecting that aggression to be there. Another dock coming in here from Max to make sure that he's gonna have the upper hand in water fights, as the first fire guy is already out for him. 45 equal to 49, so the eco advantage is actually on the side of Running here. But the fishing eco for Max is still alive on his own pond, even though he's actually getting close to losing it here. There's gonna be demos on the way for Max in this one. Other side, he is about to start pushing the fishing eco of his opponent on the other pond. There is a couple of archers and crossbows counterattacking. Well, it's gonna be crossbows in a moment. Although not a lot from Max, so he could actually have a lot more crossbows here. He's apparently struggling a bit for wood. Only has 9 on wood, and he's trying to fight on 3 ponds, and he's also trying to make archers. So, once again, this is not perfectly clear from Max over here. I think he could have committed a little bit more villagers on wood, because he's just so low on archers, and yeah, he's up to Castle Age, congrats, but what for? The only thing that you get is Vorgali upgrade here. I think he could have had like 8-9 crossbows by now, and that would potentially be able to destroy everything here, as Running is going to switch into a triple stable Knights play. The Blacksmith is still up, and that means that there is +1 defense in for Running. Max actually has the Vorgali upgrade, so he should be able to clean up the aggression on his pond now. And he might actually be able to push this pond here though, but the fact that this fireship is idle actually hurts Max a lot, because Running is just safely fishing over here instead of actually losing all his fishing eco in a couple of moments. And one thing that we didn't take a look at is that the Running is only 11 on food, so I'm not sure how long he can sustain producing knights on 3 stables. Max realizes that this army is dead, so he's just gonna try and snipe a couple of villagers with them. So the thing is that at this point, if this fire ship starts moving, that is gonna be 5 fishing ships dead from Running. So even though he's going to be on 3 stables, he's just going to be unable to afford spamming knights, whereas his opponent could go for a couple of Japanese pikemen, which would help immensely. Max isn't playing this one clean either, so you see that he's struggling a little bit with the macro, as there's so many places to pay attention for. But I think now he's gathering an upper hand, 7 villagers lead. He killed 11 fishing ships, well, 11 villagers overall, or workers, so to say. That's probably the best bet, because there were fishing ships and there were villagers killed at the same time. Men-at-arms are also knocking down the dock, which helps a little bit here. I like that you're using those men-at-arms for something. They're really useless in Castle Age combat, to be honest. So you might as well use them to kill buildings like this, for example. Now that's a disaster for Max, and as I said, this game was everything but clean from him. That was, I don't think it's an overchop, I think that was just a wrong house placement. I think that he thought this is closed, but it actually was open. So Max actually lost 5 villagers in quick succession over here. He's got the crossbows out, and as I said, his opponent's food eco isn't really well developed. In fact, those knights only have +1 defense in and bloodlines. And in the meanwhile, as I said, Max is actually able to secure his own pond. He secures the northern pond, and he secures the southern pond as well. So Max's eco advantage will just start rising and rising. That being said, Running is gonna have his shot over here if he commits to the knights and the mangonel push. I think in late game, Max is gonna be able to capitalize on the fishing eco, but this is the part of the game where Running could have a realistic shot at this. Because Max's eco isn't really amazing, and he doesn't really have a lot of army. He's got 28, sure, but if you look at those numbers, it's a kind of a ragtag army. So 3 men-at-arms, 2 skirmishers, 5 fire ships. Yeah, there is pikes and there is crossbows, but mangonels will actually be a pretty decent tool over here for running, unless he's not expecting a counterattack. And just 2 or 3 Japanese pikemen could be very, very devastating against those knights, and that's all you need. You just dive in here, and that's the majority of the wood income for running. So really, this could be a disaster for running over here. Crossbows diving in, pick off one villager, pick off another one, and the knights will have to come all the way back here, and the siege weapons are on the front, so they won't be able to help cleaning up this. And in the meanwhile, this is still a fight that running should be able to win rather convincingly. So you see that he jumps the pikeman, and indeed Max knows that he's losing the army, so he's just picking off villagers with it now. He would probably try to pick off a couple more weak knights, but you see that he's no longer microing. He knows exactly that this army is gone, and he's gonna focus on something else now, which it seems like it's gonna be pikeman play with double barracks. But still, as I said, this is definitely the least convincing game for Max. Now he's getting a massive eco lead, and I would say that if he's able to weather this storm, he's gonna be fine. But right now it's 20 army against 15, and that 20 army is actually realistically more like 8, to be honest, because, well, 10. Because the 2 skirmishers are kind of useless here. The 3 man-at-arms are absolutely useless. The 6 fire ships are not actually useful for stopping this. He's going for redemption monks. In fact, triple monastery redemption monks here. Is this coming in too late for him, though? Because by the time you actually get a couple of monks on the field, your TC here might actually get pushed really hard. There's gonna be a couple of men-at-arms that are still running around. But still, it's 3 pawns for Max, only 1 for his opponent. The TC is getting mango down, Sanctity on the way as well for Max. He's gonna play this one patient, and I think that he's even going to give up on that TC, buying himself some time. He obviously can't allow these mangonels to get to this position, because then his gold mine is gonna be gone. I think there was a knight that got converted and immediately killed. Or it might have been deleted upon seeing that running is trying to convert. That's a nice move from running, though. Realize that, hey, that monk is out of conversion power, which means that you can just jump that monk and kill it. So really, this is by far the scariest game for Max over here. And don't underestimate running, especially with pushes like this monk, mangonel type of a push is something that running is really, really good in. As I said, he is a good arena player. So his monk micro, his mangonel micro is actually pretty sharp. Now he sees the triple monastery, as here comes a monk trying to get a conversion in with redemption, and he will fail to do so. And that's 4 mangonels. It's extremely hard, because the thing is that 2 mangonels would just one-shot your monk. That's actually conversion. Let's see if Max is able to get a mangonel shot out. He won't, so actually he does. That's huge. He actually killed 2 monks over there with that converted mangonel. Still, Max is getting pushed back really hard here, and oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, running's eco is very, very weak in this one, so I feel like if he's able to get out here with the pikemen and take down the knights, this is a completely different game. So the mangonels really need to get some good ground attacks here, but the knights apparently are able to save this one, and now it's 15 army against 15, but as I said, it's 6 fire ships, 3 man-at-arms, 1 crossbow, 2 skirmisher. So basically Max has virtually no army to stop this one, and this could be a game for running. Max is trying to go for stone, and running is also getting close to dropping a castle. If you are running right now, I feel like you drop your castle here. He's building a lot of villagers. The question is where you're dropping your castle, because I feel like you already destroyed Max's base over here. If you drop a castle here, that does not do much. If you drop a castle here, that does a lot, because this castle, like a castle here, would prevent Max from running in this direction, and you can just push him from the other side. I don't think that that castle is actually well positioned. The problem is that this gives a chance for Max to survive over here, and Max didn't really have the army to stop a castle here. If a castle comes in here, Max is gonna get pushed from this side, loses that TC, he's gonna have nowhere to go. You push from the mangonels from this side, and you actually have the castle from this side, as now it's guard towers for Max, indeed. In this case, guard tower is actually something that's completely justified, so against monk and siege push, guard tower is a very, very good tool to defend with. The castle is gonna go up, that's for sure. But really, I think the problem that running is facing is that he's not ahead enough, that's so to say, because now Max has a lot of time to get his army up, and I don't think that he is having the army advantage anymore, so we got a couple more pikemen on the field, and running's military numbers aren't impressing me by any means. As Max, you see he's relocating. If you commit to a castle here, I believe that he could have done it if he commits that. He destroys this house, moves out here, and he commits to a castle there. That would have been a completely different scenario. That will be, I think, 2 knights converted, but there isn't really an awful lot of monks on the field, so the monks will also be traded to knights here, essentially. Now, keep in mind that Max's eco is much, much better, but this sort of Castle Age all-in push here could still be devastating, especially because the Manganos are putting in a lot of effort trying to destroy those production buildings, although you probably would prefer those Manganos also taking down that archer range. I think the archer range is what you have to take down first, surprisingly, because even though the pikemen are more dangerous against your knights, what you're trying to do is potentially transition to Jberos here. Add a couple of Jberos against the pikemen and take down the ranges so the archers can kill your Jberos. In the meanwhile, pikemen counterattack coming in here in quite considerable quantities, and those crossbows are the real danger here. Just a couple of crossbows, it might not seem like it's much, but 4 crossbows could do a lot of damage here, as Running is just getting TC number 2 up for himself. So the problem for Running, as I said, is that he's unable to contest this part of Max's eco, let alone being able to contest the fishing eco of Max, which is just absolutely crazy. Running has these fishing ships idle for a long, long time, but oh, the TCs! He tried TCing this one, and that's not gonna be a TC from Running, and that's gonna be a lot of dead vultures if he doesn't react to that in time. In fact, it's lucky for him that there is only 8 vultures inside the TC. In fact, that actually is gonna be a TC going up. You have to jump inside. This is a Castle Age TC drop. You don't just bail on that, man. Just jump on it or make a castle. Now, that castle might actually be in the range of that tower or that TC, so I'm not sure if this is actually going to be an easy one to pull off for Running. And one thing that we didn't actually notice is that he actually came back with his knights to try and clean this up, and he ran into what probably was about 20 Japanese pikemen with the cavalry. Well, yeah, that's a GG moment. I'm not sure if that was intentional, or I think he was just too busy fighting this. Because he was also... I don't think he was paying attention to here. I think he was paying attention to this fight over here. And he may have accidentally microed his knights into the pikemen. And now he realizes that, yeah, I was 1 TC the whole time. Even if I get this up, it's probably over. Wishes good luck to his opponent. And Max soars through Running over here as he gets into the next round of the Hidden Cup 4 qualifiers.